Hello and welcome to Victory Lap. I am your host, Stephanie Nielsen, and I am so happy that you're joining us today. Victory Lap is a platform where we discuss maximizing your cruise control, powering up your pit stop, and celebrating your victory by having real talk with real people who are doing some of the most incredible things. So last week we had the incredible Todd Snyder as our part one, and this week we are going to go into part two. And when we introduced Todd last week, I shared that the quote that really resonated with me about Todd was Gandhi's "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." And I want to start this week with Mother Teresa's charity is not about pity, it is about love. And again, I think Todd amplifies this. So without further ado, let's just get right into the conversation and finish up where we started last week with Todd Snyder, the CEO and founder of Lost Faces of Humanity. Yay! So here we are, continuing the conversation with Todd. Thank you so much for sticking around. This has just been amazing, and you just have so much incredible information to share with our viewers. So I wanted to make this a two-part series. It's good content here. Yeah.
Thank you. So where were we?
Well, we were talking about your team and about how, the children are the next level in interacting, right? And how I love this idea that you presented about having the kids in Africa attend the school system, say in LA, remotely. And having the kids interact, because I really do think that this is key. I mean, we talked about it in the previous segment about the awareness piece, right? And how we view them as others. We view the homeless or the refugees or the people that aren't within our class, if you will, as the others. And it's not just, when they're not at the same, I hate classism. I really don't like it at all, because to me, we are one people, right? But we do that everywhere. And it doesn't matter. I mean, we look at the Jeff Bezos of the world as the others, and they're not. They came in the same way. They're going out the same way. They need the same substance to survive. We keep separating ourselves. And
that's the classic mantra, and I treat everyone, the same, whether it be the president of a country to, the homeless guy. Like, I'm in these camps and my team, they crack up because I'm high-fiving and I'm getting down in the dirt. I usually walk around in my flip-flops depending on, the region and whatnot. And, it's not me or them. It's just sort of, two people, talking, getting to know one another. And I do the same thing with the homeless.
Yes.
And I've been kind of photographing, throughout this whole COVID crisis down on Skid Row, and, people would not believe, what's going on down there. I mean, there's, tents and no real COVID protection, in that area. And, people are just sort of living on the streets.
I just had a guest on the show 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now. And she is part of the Caring Hearts organization in Minneapolis. And that's, she's feeding the homeless constantly and bringing the stories to light for people.
Nice.
Sharing the reality and the realness and the authenticity, and that not everybody that's on the street is unemployed. Not everybody that's on the street is a drug addict. There's so many different stories, and yet we classify them all in one little bubble and say, no, thank you. Right?
No, absolutely. And I have, I tour around a lot with the, the local police that sort of, help the crisis. And, there's a really interesting take that some of the officers have, and, we could even maybe get them on a show. They're great guys and gals that are down there in the trenches. And one of the officers pointed out, and I've heard this from several of the people that I've spoken to, and I've had people that when I ask them, why, how long you been on the street, that's kind of one of the first questions I ask them. And one guy in particular has been on the street since the Vietnam War ended.
Wow.
And he said, and he's got this great face, great beard, and, just has a presence. And, I photographed him a few times, and and he just looks at me and he goes, man, he goes, you're the one that needs to really get in check. He goes, I don't have bills.
Yes.
I don't have anybody to answer to. He goes, it might get cold at night every now and then, but I got freedom, dude. And that's kind of how I left it. And, I think part of it, some of these people just want to be homeless. They don't want the responsibility. They love the freedom.
Yeah.
And I think there's I would bet 20%, after they've gotten out of the system here, in the sense where they're, no more, kind of enslaved to, the hamster wheel of working, paying bills, they love it. And I think if you gave them a house or an apartment, they wouldn't want to go back to it.
Right. And I think you're absolutely right on that too, right? They have found a freedom. It's like the same philosophy is sometimes with criminals, right? They get out and they go and commit a crime because they want to go back in, because that's
they don't want to get it.
Comfortable with, right? That's what they know, right? And I love this conversation because it really truly is highlighting to myself and to the viewers that everybody has a different mindset. They have a different way of living that works for them, and it's okay. We don't have to judge another person because they don't live the same way as we do, and we don't have to change them because they live a different way than we do.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the problem with our society. People think, you have to fit in this little mold and this is how you should be. And, I think, the suburbs can be more maddening than anything else. If you look at that lifestyle. I mean,
there is probably more drug addiction, alcoholism, abuse, mental instability in the suburbs than there are on the streets. I
call them luxury penitentiaries. I mean, if you look at some of these, they're gated and it's just, whatever, but I think there's that fine line, but it's ultimately, you have one life and you have to live it what makes you happy.
Exactly.
And, and it's not the judgmental. And, I think what we've talked about earlier with the stigma, I think if our planet, if we could teach the youth of today that, it's just one humanity. It doesn't matter your religion, your color, if you're, 6 foot tall or if you're, 3 feet tall, we're all one. And I think that's really the cornerstone to, making a better planet. And,
Todd, I think I mentioned this in another interview, and I apologize to my audience for repeating myself, but again, it just fits so perfectly here. When I had my first son, the first time that I held that baby in my arms, I knew instinctually that I was connected to every other woman on the planet who held her baby for the first time. It didn't matter her race, her religion, her language, her creed, nothing. Every mother that held their baby and felt what I felt in that moment, we shared that. We were all one. We all felt that same thing.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
that was such an incredible gift for me to realize that united me. I mean, if nothing else did, that moment united me.
Yeah. And there's a lot of truth to that. And, I think everybody gets caught up in these TV shows and the this and the that, and, what you have and what you don't have. And, I think that's really, screwed up our society. And
absolutely. And I would be the first to say that I have fallen victim to that too. But it's interesting how my mind has been shifting over the years. And I've worked so hard to attain, probably like you did in your corporate world, right? And now I'm really looking at quality of life. Do I really need? What do I really want? Where do I really want to live? How do I really want to exist?
1,000%. And if you look at, I'm happier in the back of a truck, in East Africa than I am, in a fancy car in Los Angeles or wherever. I think it's just, these cities have just gotten to be too much. And, at least in America right now, it's such a divided country.
Yeah.
And, that's a whole nother show if you want to talk about it.
It really is a whole other show. I agree with you. But this is something that has really resonated in me since the beginning of COVID. So for me, I find it funny because COVID has just highlighted my beliefs, my desires, my ambitions. It's really brought in a lot of clarity to me. And one of the things that I was so surprised, I had always known it, but I was so surprised how passionate I was about it, was when the whole COVID thing started and there was this political thoughts and these political thoughts, and these are conspiracy theories and this is the truth. And I just saw everybody divide. And all I wanted to do was bring everybody back together. And I really realized I don't like division. I am all about unity in whatever form that looks like. I just want people to love each other. And I've been like that since I was a little kid. I've never understood why people fight. I don't understand why there has to be war. And one of the things that I've said for years is that if we could just seek first to understand and then be understood, oh my gosh, this world would be free. The entire planet would be free.
But it's classic textbook ideological subversion. And it's a technique that's been used to divide and conquer, for centuries. And that's what how they've divided, most of these countries in Africa and, the Middle East. And it's just, you bring someone in there with an opposite belief. I'll go back to Khmer Rouge. Here you have, a dictator that comes in far, far left. And if you weren't part of that, kind of agenda, they were, executing.
Right.
And, it's no different than what took place in Rwanda. It's no different than, what was taking place in Haiti in the 1970s. It's been taking place since the beginning of time. And, that's where, the divide and conquer. And it's taking place in the U.S. And, if things don't turn around quickly in the U.S., you will see conflict here.
Right.
And that I think is by design. I've never seen such polar opposite.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to take my daughter and, go live in Africa for a while. Yeah, Canada. You guys won't have it yet, so.
Oh, it's probably coming. Whatever happens in the States eventually gets up here, right?
Oh yeah, I love Canadians. Good hockey, good food, good people.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
And
very Canadian. It's funny, when I was a young adult, I guess, my late teens, early 20s, I wanted to live in the States so bad, and I loved everything American, and I was all, Canada sucks, I want to be an American. And my dad said to me, he goes, if you actually studied your Canadian history and you still felt like you wanted to be an American, I'll support you. But if you're just going to beak off and not know anything about who you are as a Canadian, I'm not going to support you in this, right? So I did. I actually, I took him to task, and I studied Canadian history. And the more that I found out about who we were and what we stood for and the things that we've done and the way that we've shown up in the world, it really did increase my pride. And I don't think we're taught that enough.
Oh, it's so true. Yeah. And it's, you guys are awesome up there. So
thanks. So everybody wants to come here, right?
Well, now they do in particular.
But we have the room too. I mean, we have so much land up here.
Right, it's amazing.
I mean, you got to live in the cold, but you get used to that too, right?
Yeah, that's what good company is about.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Todd, one of the things that I really want to discuss with you on this show is, how do we help? How do we make a difference? How do people like myself who I really do live a comfortable little life, I'm trying to help in my own ways by doing things like having the talk show and offering different programs to help people take more leadership steps in their lives and create freedoms, for people like me. How do I help people that are not like me? How do my viewers help people that are not like us?
Well, I think the key is there. You want to help. You want to go out and make a difference. It's sort of what I'm looking for right now, and it sort of has been coming. I have two water groups that approach me. I'm on a Pacific council here that sort of attracts a lot of global leaders and things like that. And I have two water groups that kind of approached us. They drill wells all over the world. One of them primarily in Rwanda. And we're kind of working together now to bring the wells into the Ethiopian camps. But what I'm kind of looking for my foundation is, perhaps some teachers, educators, and people that have a background in the Zoom calls and setting up classrooms, and come help us, in these camps where we can put together a team with a plan and formulate, because we're an NGO now, so we have the capability to go in just like any other big organization into the camps and excuse me, kind of looking for, leaders that want to, help us with this mission.
Todd, do you want to explain what an NGO is?
It's a non-government organization, so we're non-governmental. I have a 501(c), so we're tax exempt. So if someone donates money to the foundation, it's a tax deduction for them, and then we deploy the money kind of pursuant to our mission statement and things like that. So our mission statement now is primarily focused on the women, children, and education and kind of bettering their lifestyle in the camps.
So one question that I would have then, Todd, so someone like myself who is a certified speaker, trainer, coach, would there be an aspect that I could assist with that?
Yeah, come on into the camps, and we'll put together maybe a lifestyle sort of an educational week in a refugee camp. We could put something like that together.
That would
so
be
you're teaching, teaching people skills on communication, and that's sort of one of the things that there's so much capability out there from our end.
Right.
And like I said, these kids and these people, they want that second chance. No one wants to sit around and rely on World Food Program or a couple of charity groups to feed them. They want that second chance, and they deserve it.
Absolutely.
And one of my kind of primary focus for myself is going in and capturing the images and telling their story. When I go back and going to go back into Sudan and kind of show where it all took place and interview some of the people that stayed in Sudan, and then most of the refugees that we work with in the Gambela region of Ethiopia are Sudanese. I want to tell their story.
These stories that you're creating, are they stories to help them get placed in Europe and the US and Canada? Like, tell me what the intention is with the stories and the trainings and the schooling and the education and so on. What is the goal?
Well, what I'm doing with the camera and kind of the interview process, where I'll go out, kind of personally interviewing and talking with the refugees, and then kind of exposing the fact that, hey, these are some people living in this region. Their stories, introduce them to the world. I mean, the news refuses to kind of do it, because it doesn't sell commercials.
Right.
So kind of, their stories are important. I think if enough people see that there's some great people living in these camps, one, we either bring corporations into the camps, or two, we help bring some of these refugees into your, neighborhood and your community. I mean, these kids need adoption. Most of the kids in these camps, they were orphaned. Their parents were killed during the war in South Sudan. So, and the same thing with the, the Syrian community. It's horrible. What's been taking place, right now. Look at the camp in Greece that just burned down.
Right.
A close friend of mine was in that camp back in January. These people are, beautiful, kind, smart, educated people, and they're, the refugee camp burnt down. They can't go back into Syria. Assad regime is just not going to allow it. And the homes are bombed. I mean, there's no home to go back to.
And I think this is what we really don't understand here. That it's not like they can go back. The destruction is just tragic.
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah, it's horrible. And that's such a kind of a multi-layered, we have these wars where we go in and destroy these cities through the post-industrial war machine that's out there causing all the chaos. And I think it's going to come down to, UN leadership, global leadership, in the sense where, if you're going to buy a fighter plane to bomb a city, perhaps we impose a tax against that fighter plane. And that tax is then utilized knowing that there's going to be X amount of refugees that are going to be displaced. I think there's ways to do it. These companies that, manufacture bombs and fighter aircraft and machine guns and things like that. I think, put a tax on these things and use that tax to rebuild some of these homes and places.
These communities, absolutely.
I think it's only fair.
Yeah.
If they're going to destroy, let's rebuild.
You said something today that I'm surprised about, and it never even dawned on me. And yet it's something, ironically, from the time I was a little girl, it's kind of been on my heart. So it just popped an idea. If somebody was interested in adopting one of these children, can you direct them into how to do that?
Yeah, I mean, my team in Ethiopia could do that. It's something we haven't done yet. but it's something my team could, help facilitate with the local governments and things like that. So if that's something, I can send an email or give my guys a call, and maybe we'll do a show and I'll bring one of my board members on. I do Zoom calls with them all the time.
I would
So
love that actually.
yeah.
I raised two kids on my own. My boys and I were on our own since 2001, and but as a little girl, I always said that I would adopt a child, but that just didn't work out, being a single mom and everything, But it has always played so heavy on my heart, and this is before I even had any awareness that there were children out in the world that didn't have a loving family.
Yeah.
And I think every single child on this planet deserves to feel loved and appreciated and encouraged.
No, absolutely. No, 1000%.
I
And
mean,
these
not
kids,
only, sorry,
yeah, I mean, they're orphaned, a lot of these kids, and they're, deserving of a home and a second chance. And
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, and look what's took place in, South America, and it's just taking place all over. I mean, it's just a massive, exodus of, people being displaced, and 1000%, yes, these kids, because if you think about it, what kind of adults are these kids going to become without knowing the loving family, dichotomy that you and I were fortunate enough to have.
And this was going to be my next point, is that not only do these children just by rights of them being children deserve a safe and loving home, but this is
Yeah.
also our future.
Oh, absolutely. Our globe, it's our globe too. It's not Canada, the U.S., it's not Mexico, it's not Sudan, it's not Uganda, it's not Syria, it's not Jordan. It's our planet.
Absolutely.
And it's an amazing planet. I mean, the cultures we have out there are just, unbelievable. Give an example. We were in Turkey last year. My daughter and I were in Turkey, and the state. There's all these warnings on the news. Don't go to Turkey. It's dangerous. And we go to Turkey, and it's like Italy on steroids. The kindest, nicest people on planet. And it's now my stopping point when I go to Africa. Istanbul is an amazing city. The people are amazing. The food is off the charts. But yet, the news is saying, oh, you shouldn't go there. I'm like, and it's her favorite country on the planet. She's been to 20 of them with me. And, the people.
I've always wanted to go to Turkey. It's on my bucket list. But, I want to reference that just from my own personal experience here. And it's may seem trivial in comparison. But so in Canada, we have Quebec, which is where I live. Now, I was not born and raised in Quebec. I was born and raised on the West Coast, right? And Quebec, unfortunately, in Canada, does not have the best reputation. And outside of the province, people say that the French are arrogant, and, unless you speak the language, they're not nice to you. And they have all of these things that they say, and that Quebec, they are, anyways, they just have negative things to say about the Quebec province and the Quebecers, right? I'll tell you what, they are the nicest people I have ever met. I've lived in different provinces across Canada. I've worked entirely across Canada. And in the US too. I mean, my position is business development manager for North America. I've been to almost every United States. I've been to every province in Canada, but 2, I think. So it's not like I'm coming here without any reference, right? They are the nicest people. And I'll tell you something about Quebecers. If you try just by saying bonjour, they bring you in. And when they bring you into your fold, you do not have a better group of people that will support you.
Absolutely. I said the same thing, Paris. And my French is really bad. I mean, it's offensive. But I try. And in Paris, to me, and I love Quebec as well. And I think the same thing. And I'm thinking, people amazing. In fact, I think, as far as the culture, that's the culture, of Canada. And I find that Paris, same thing, terrible French. The French are so welcoming to me. And when I go to Paris, it's hilarious. I find it, how kind and welcoming they are. And I have friends that just say the opposite. Oh, we avoid. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Architecture, culture, food, kindness. I love the culture. So.
But I think it goes back to proving the point of when you go into a culture, you go in respecting their culture.
Mm-hmm.
If you go into a culture saying, well, this is my culture and I'm going to live this culture, you get a completely different experience.
Oh yeah. No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I feel more at home in Paris, in Sudan, in most of the cities in Africa than I do sometimes here in Los Angeles.
I can understand that. I'm originally from Vancouver, and I've always said that I feel more at home in Quebec. I'm happier in Quebec than I've ever been, and I feel more connected to this community because they welcome me. People in Quebec, when they say, I'm going to see you next Thursday at 6 p.m., it's done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild how that works.
Yeah.
So.
This is actually kind of interesting. I had an interview a couple weeks back with a gentleman that was from Quebec here. Grew up in northern Quebec, and he's a writer coach now. He coaches people who want to write books, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he got I think it's called I'm not going to say it, a Fulbright scholarship.
Yeah. Okay.
A university down in the States. And initially he wasn't going to apply for it because he didn't think that his English was good enough. But because his English wasn't his first language and he had to learn English and learn the structure, that was actually what made him win the scholarship, because he was so good at English from a structural writing perspective, right?
Wow.
And he said, the thing that made me think that I was the underdog is actually what made me successful.
Yeah.
And I thought, that is brilliant, And that's what I think is the secret to places like Quebec. They may be the underdog in Canada, but it's the best province by far.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Yeah. I know we kind of deviated from our topic here, but yeah. One of the things that I do want to say about Ethiopia, so I'm part of the John Maxwell team for leadership development.
Mm-hmm.
And I have monthly meetup calls, and I'm part of the mentorship program. I am surprised at how many people from Ethiopia are part of our team. And I asked one of the members about that, and she said to me that in Ethiopia, they really encourage personal development.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of
culture. Well, and it's, so there's, I think, 80 different tribes throughout Ethiopia. There's a college in just about every other village.
Wow.
Faith is a cornerstone, and I love kind of hearing, it's a blended faith, which is amazing.
Yes. But that's what it should be.
Well, you're preaching to the choir. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's in the food and the tradition, and there's a pride. There's a really pride in the culture, and I praise the fact that there's universities in just about every other town.
I think that's
Highly educated. It's an awesome country. I call it the crown jewel of Africa.
wow.
Amazing country.
Yeah, and yet that's not what the media portrays.
Well, in the media, I mean, they are the problem.
Yes.
I mean, they are the divider.
Yeah.
It's just, you've got 6 mega corporations controlling most of the media, 95% of the media.
Yeah.
250 individuals that sort of control those mega companies that are now controlling what we read, we see, we watch, we listen to.
That's why it's so important that we educate ourselves on these things.
Oh yeah, and I turn it off. I can only take so much of it.
Yeah. I was once called naive for not watching the news years back, and I said, no, I'm not naive. I'm happy.
Well, it's no longer news; it's opinions.
Yeah, exactly.
And the opinions are that of the people that write it, and the ones that are getting the sponsorship from the ones that advertise on it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And to me, that's I think it's it's going to be a big problem if it doesn't change. It's no longer news.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
But we don't want to get political today.
Not today. That'll be another show. I'm
Okay.
staying out of that one.
Yeah. So that being said, we are coming to the end of our time here. So I do want to ask you some of my victory lap questions.
Okay.
And the first question that I want you to share with us is, how do you maximize your cruise control? I mean, so for me, cruise control is, our comfort zone. But our comfort zone, that life's good. I mean, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Cruise control to me is like when I'm driving in the car and I got it on cruise control and I'm listening to music and my mind's going, and sometimes I come up with some of my greatest ideas there. But cruise control isn't bad, but how do we maximize that? Being stuck in our comfort zone and never growing, that isn't necessarily good. But cruise control, maximizing it, to me, that's choosing in your comfort zone to keep growing. So how do you do that?
I think mine is, just doing things that make me happy and surrounding myself with people that make me happy. I avoid assholes. I just stay out
That's
of
a
that.
good life philosophy there.
Really good life lesson. And, it's sort of, I got into meditation. I hike a lot. I, run a lot, spend a lot of time with my daughter and friends. I avoid kind of drama. I'm outdoors. I like to travel. This has been a weird year because I haven't been able to travel like I used to.
Same.
Typically my daughter and I are gone for, at least 2 months of the year.
Yeah.
I'm usually on the road or in Europe or in Africa or, somewhere. And this has been kind of a bizarre year, but I'm grateful. And I live near the beach. So, I'm in the water, even in the winter.
Nice.
And, I get out and I'm, at least 5 miles a day, on my feet.
Nice.
So that's sort of it. And then, I'll get in the car and go somewhere. But I think the key is just avoid what you put into your body. And that's in the form of music. That's in the form of, television, even some of the programming that they're, I avoid all of it. I don't watch a lot of these, I think I saw maybe 2 movies last year.
Yeah.
I just don't buy the Hollywood propaganda machine.
Yes. That's brilliant, actually. That's brilliant, because we often think about what we're doing, but we don't think about what we should not be doing. I mean, we think about what we should be doing, but we don't think about what we should not be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, and just, I think the key is just avoid what you're putting into your body.
Yes.
Whether it be food or back to programming. They are programming you. So I kind of stay away from, a lot of that. And then just to hang out with good people.
Yes.
Read a good book.
Notice for yourself, because I definitely have noticed this for me, is that as I've grown and raised my awareness, I've been attracting more and more good people in my world.
Oh, absolutely.
When people say to me, oh, Facebook is so negative, I'm like, well, check who you're associating with, because mine's not.
Yeah, well, I mean, Facebook's its own little thing. And, I had a conversation with a close rabbi friend of mine the other day, and he said, one of the things Facebook's good for doing, it's, dividing. There's a lot of hatred that it's selling. People, you've got someone that's posting up next to a car in a parking lot, acting like it's theirs. And, it's a very delicate tool.
Choose it.
Yeah.
So the second question I want to ask you is, how do you power up your pit stops? So in life, we're driving along and all of a sudden we get a flat tire and we're not on our road anymore. And I know for myself, I used to stay in my pit stops a lot longer than I do now. So do you have any tips or tricks on how you get out of your pit stops fast?
It doesn't feel right, get out of it. Whether it be a relationship, whether it be a city you're visiting, a hotel you're staying at, a restaurant that's not welcoming you. I teach my daughters, like, if you're paying for something, you better get good service.
Yes.
And if someone's not giving you good service, get out of there. If you choose to hang out with someone and they're not respecting your boundaries as an individual, see ya, bye-bye.
I agree with you 100%. People laugh at me all the time because I am one of those high maintenance order people. I like this way, I want this on the side, remove that. And they're all like, oh my God, you should just have a card made. And I'm like, well, I'm paying for it. I want it the way that I want it. And I'm a good cook. So why would I go and pay to have a food brought to me that I don't like?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, I teach her that every day. And just kind of, I think the key is, and I've got my buddy here that needs to probably go out a little bit, but
Yeah.
But I think the key is just to, do what feels right.
Yeah.
And like I photograph a lot, and I'm kind of out there quite a bit. I can't be in a refugee camp, so I'm downtown shooting homeless and chatting with them and giving them all the old clothes that I don't wear anymore. And
Oh,
I'm just grateful, kind of grateful for what I have, and like I said, just hang out with people that matter.
that is awesome.
So many, avoid parasites and
Yes.
kind of the energy suckers.
Yeah. They
So-
say your body is a temple. And I think that it expands beyond just what you're feeding it. It's everything about it. Like, treat yourself as a temple. Who you communicate with, what you eat, what you put in front of yourself, what you read. When I was younger, I was an avid reader. I used to read fiction all the time. I don't think I have picked up a fiction book in 15 years. And I still love reading, but everything I read is about growth and development and becoming a better human being and, leadership and getting to the next level. Because I really feel that it's important to be the best person I can possibly be while I'm living here.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I don't want any drama.
No, me neither.
Yeah. And avoid all that toxic energy. And so.
Yeah. Peace, love, and happiness. That's all I'm about.
Totally.
Okay. So how do you celebrate your victories?
Oh, that's a great question. Let's plan the next one.
Oh, I love it.
And be grateful for the last one. And not live beyond your means, and have aspirations for different goals and things like that. And just kind of staying true to myself. What makes me happy.
One thing that I find so amazing with life is how everything is always linked. It is so funny to me how I do an interview and somebody says something that connects to the interview that I just did, or connects to something I'm studying right now, or a conversation I had with my friend. Like, it is just amazing to me how that happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just did an interview yesterday with a gentleman, and we talked about "To thy own self be true."
Mm-hmm.
And I was raised with that. My Nana said that quote all the time when I was a young girl. And it is so important. If you can't be true to yourself, you cannot be true to anybody else.
So true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's kind of, I've got to get my daughter through high school now. And, who knows? I doubt very highly I will remain in the United States given kind of what's going on right now. So,
yeah.
So many better places to live.
I'd love to have your daughter on the show. I bet you she is absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you. She's
say about her and the opportunities that she's had, and the leadership skills that this young human has.
I'm blessed. Very grateful. She's a great kid, and like I said, the key here is like we talked about at the intro. I want her to, treat every country like it's her grandparents' living room, and she gets it. She doesn't understand why people are typecast. I mean, she's, kind of, it's funny kind of walking through, parts of Ethiopia. We were in these villages, and every young man over the age of 13 was carrying an AK-47. And, it was a little bit intimidating, because there's no cell service. You're in the middle of nowhere. People living in grass huts, and the women are kind of just wearing a loincloth. It's like stepping back in time several thousand years ago, yet every young man is carrying an AK-47. And you think to yourself, wow, and yet they embraced, welcomed us. And, neither one of us felt threatened in any way.
Isn't that amazing?
Safe. It was really amazing.
Yeah. The first time I went to Rome, and trust me, my travel is not as extensive as yours, but the first time I went to Rome and I went to the Vatican and I saw all the officers standing around with the AK-47, initially, for that first brief moment, it was like, whoa. I mean, that's just not something you see in Canada. But you know what? It actually made me feel a little bit safe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, I guess you're safer with the guns you can see than the ones you can't see.
100%.
So, yeah. And it's, but that's kind of, my take, but.
Yeah. Todd, this has been amazing. I have loved this conversation with you. And I think we could talk forever and educate so many people about this topic. I'm sincere in saying that I'd like to look at ways that we could potentially work together.
I love it. Yeah, anything you're doing. I'm Lost Spaces of Humanity Foundation. It's on the internet. You can kind of see what we do and our mission and our. The key here would be to, I'm really actively looking for, assistance to kind of, grow the foundation. My goal is to, we're in Ethiopia. I ultimately, we're invited to, work with the SAMS group into some of the Syrian refugee camps in Turkey and, Jordan, and then. I want to kind of segue into Rwanda and other parts of Africa because it's, these people need some help, and they're some of the kindest people on planet Earth.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. So I guess we'll end there today, but let's keep this conversation going. And for any of our viewers that want to reach out, or if they have an idea or a concept or a donation or anything, lostspacesofhumanity.org, right?
Yeah, Lost Spaces of Humanity Foundation. Yeah. You can find us on the internet and all that. But yeah, thank you. I would be forever grateful, and to be continued.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed chatting with you now, and to be continued.
For sure, for sure. Thank you so much, Todd. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks.
Yeah, you too. Ciao, ciao.
Wow, what an inspiring man. And the other thing that I think is so cool is how Todd has gotten his daughter involved. What a legacy. So incredible. I know we're going to see some more great things from Todd. And if you have any kind of inspiration to work with him, please reach out to him directly or to me, and we can find ways that we can support him in the great work that he's doing. Okay, so again, I want to hear from you guys. Tell me the ways that you share love on a daily basis. I think that is a really cool talking point. Okay, so put your thoughts and your feedbacks in the comments below, and we can start the conversation. And I guess that's it for today. Be sure you check out my website at www.victorylap.ca, where you can find previous episodes that showcase more incredible people and provides a contact form if you want to be a guest on the show. And to see more of what I'm up to or reach out to me directly regarding some of my other offerings, you can check out my personal website at www.stephanienielsen.ca. I'm also all over social media, so you can find me there if you want to. So, thanks so much for watching. Until the next lap. Ciao, ciao.